Hi guys, welcome back to You Choose Tuesday, the weekly nail art tutorial from Monaco Nail Academy, where you guys get to choose what we show you how to do. And what you guys voted for this week was this patterned dotted nail art design. I don't even know what to call it. It kind of reminds me of a, I think it has like a mandala vibe, but it's not really a mandala. For those of you that haven't watched the last couple of weeks, yes, my nails are naked. It's because on my own Facebook page, I'm currently doing a series on nail rehab. Okay, so first of all, this, the base that I've used is Color Gloss in What a Girl Flaunts. So that's the base that I've put down, just 2 layers of that color. And then the colors I am using on it are all Color Gloss. I'm going to talk about in a second why I've chosen to use gel polish. But the bright pink is called Flirty, the white is called Bride, the yellow is Wild, and the mint green is called Charming. So those are the colors that I'm going to be using, if I can get this to focus, for today's tutorial. So I will talk really quickly about why I chose to use gel polish for this. My go-to product for a lot of my nail art is acrylic paint, which is a water-based paint, and I absolutely love it. I didn't choose it for this because acrylic paint can be a little bit of a pain in the bum when you're trying to do dotting. It doesn't hold on to the dotting tool in the same way that gel does. So you tend to have to go back into the acrylic paint pot over and over and over again. The other thing is that acrylic paint dots tend to sit quite high, whereas line work sits really flat. And when the dots sit quite high, you find yourself having to do like 2 coats of top coat over the top to get them fully covered. If you just do 1 layer of top coat, then what can happen is when you wipe the inhibition layer off later, you wipe away half the dots because they sat so high and the gel settled around them. So while my first love is acrylic paint, it's not the best option for this particular design. At the other end of the scale is gel paint. Now, with gel polish that I am going to be using and that I've got on my palette, one of the problems with gel polish is that it self-settles, and you will see when I start doing the design that I have to flash cure the design fairly regularly to get it to not bleed. Now, if I were using gel paint, then it doesn't settle as quickly, if at all. So gel paint can be really good for designs where you don't want to have to flash cure, but you do want the maneuverability of gel. The reason I'm not using gel paint for this design is that it is really, really thick. For that reason, some people love it and some people hate it. I'm not the biggest gel paint fan, and because this is really tight individual dotted work, I find that what can happen is when you place down the dot, it can sometimes peak slightly. Depends how much you're using. If you're doing really tiny dots, then it's not so bad, but I'm not sure if you can see that it slightly peaks if you are trying to do larger dots. That's alright, some people still absolutely love it, and I probably would have actually done this particular design with gel paint, despite that slight flaw that I don't like, except that I don't have the colors I wanted. So that's actually the main reason I'm not using gel paint, and you can customize them. I just didn't want to do so for one swatch. But so for that reason, I'm using gel polish. And so, oops, sorry, I just knocked the camera. So with that in mind, let's talk really quickly about the pros and cons of using gel polish for this design. I mentioned before that it is going to bleed slightly. That just means that while the dots are uncured, it can be, they can run together. So I will flash cure them by putting them under the LED lamp for 10 seconds quite often as I go. The pro though is that it holds really nicely on the dotting tool or stylus tool, and you can get quite a few dots done in one go that you'll see in a second. So I'm going to use 2 different stylus tools. They are the Artistic Nail Design stylus tools, and with the 2 different ends on the 2 different colored stylus tools, you have 4 sizes. I'm mostly using the blue one, which is the 2 smaller sizes, one of which is needlepoint that I'm going to use quite a lot. So my first tip when doing a design like this is to start at the, where the cuticle would be. and work your way forwards, and also to always start as close to the center as your design allows you to, or the center of your design if that works for you. So that means for me that I'm going to start with this pink dot, and I'm using the second size of the stylus tool, picking up some product and placing that down in the center of the cuticle area. And then I just have a dry gauze wipe that I'm wiping my stylus tool on in between colors, so not cleaning it or anything fancy like that. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's a really thin white line of dots immediately around that pink, so that's where I'm going next. And for that, I'm using the needlepoint end of my stylus. I'm going to pick up some product and again start in the center and work my way to one side. So the first dot is always going to be the biggest, and because my center dot was the biggest and I've just picked up more product, I'm going to dot off once so that my next dot on this side is the same size as the one on the first side. I hope that makes sense. If I hadn't dotted off on the palette that I'm using, my first dot on this side would have been the same as the center. It would have been bigger than any of the others and look slightly unbalanced. Before I do the next row, I'm going to cure that for 7, 8, 10 seconds, something like that. I did the first design all with 10-second flash cures, but I know with live tutorials I can't fast forward through them for you. So next is a ring of the mint dots, and then a yellow ring, if I can get this to focus. Sometimes moving gets it to focus. I just don't want to do the dots before it does. I'll do the next ring now because you guys don't want to be waiting for it, and it will focus in a second. But again, I'm starting in the center and moving around, evenly spaced, following the same curve. And then with this next one, I need to dot off so that my first dot of the second row is the same. Ran out a little bit, so just topping up. And I think I can get away with doing the yellow line as well before needing to cure. So again, I'm going to pick up yellow product, start in the center. Because I haven't flash cured, I need to be really careful not to make contact with the mint colored dots, and making my way all the way around. Another little tip, I guess, is that if you have really thin colors that you don't think are going to hold up well with this particular design, or while you're dotting you think that they may be a little bit too thin to dot nicely and hold their color in an opaque way, then what I did was I actually put my colors out about 10 minutes ago, and then have come back, and they will have slightly thickened, just because I'm near a window. There's not a huge amount of natural light, but they won't cure, but they will thicken from the small amount of natural light bouncing around my desk. So that makes it a little bit easier to do this design. I've got one more ring of white. And if you find that so it's quite a good thing that your dots will decrease in size as you make your way round. That can often make your design look even better. But if you find that you're losing the size of your dots too early, when you place the stylus tool down, hold it just a little bit longer and let some of that product move, because gel is self-settling, so if you move quickly the dots will decrease in size, but if you move at a decreasing pace and get slower and slower, they will stay the same size. Again, hopefully that made sense. So the next bit I want to do are these colored dots so that I can put the white rings around them. So I'm going to do the pink dots first. So that's one in the center, being careful not to touch the white because that hasn't flash cured, and one slightly further up, and then I've got some mint ones to do as well. So again, picking up some product, I'm going to do the side ones first because I've got the most product on my stylus tool. And then when I've got slightly less, I'll go into the middle of the pink so that they won't run together. So I'm going to flash cure that again. For those of you that have used gel paint before, you might notice that the gel polish that I'm using, because I left it out for a little while, is behaving a little bit more like gel paint than gel polish would traditionally behave. So that's one of the pros. Like, it's a way of getting sort of like halfway in between, where I don't have the same peaking as gel paint, but I do still have the same, like, I don't know what the word is, like holdability. So I need to put a teardrop ring of white around these middle colored dots. Again, same thing, I'm going to start in the center, and this time I'm going to just kind of bulge out and come back so that I get that teardrop shape. And then I'll do the side teardrops. Now I want my biggest dot to be like, it's like they're coming out on angles if you think about it. So I'm going to start my biggest dot here where the top of my angled teardrop would be. Work my way around and fill in that little gap. And then the same on this side. Work my way around and then fill in that little gap. And I think I'm pushing my luck to do any more without flash curing that. So I'll pop it in for 10 seconds. And so, like, a lot of this, like, it is just dots, but there's little tricks that you can use to make it that much easier and to make it look that much more professional. Okay, so we're almost there. We're going to do this ring here. So we've got quite a large pink dot first, which I'm going to use the bigger end for. Most of what I've done so far has been the needle point end. So I'm going to pop this down with enough room to do my yellow ring around it. Clean that off and swap back to the needle point. Pick up some product and run just an even ring around there. And it is going to get smaller and smaller like we've talked about. So when I run back around, those dots will even out. Last, I've got the white row that leads up to the tip of the nail. And for that, I really want to take advantage of the fact that they will decrease in size as I go if I use the same speed. So I'm going to pick up quite a lot of product from my white. Place my first dot and then move at a consistent speed so that the dots decrease in size as they get towards the tip. And that's my design done. At this point, what I will do is not a full cure, but actually another flash cure. I could do a full cure, but the more you put this into the lamp, the more over cured you can make your base color, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. So I can get away with, because they are small dots, just flash curing them and letting them like just stop moving and stop bleeding, and then I can put glossing gel, our gel top coat, straight over the top and not have any risk of them bleeding into the glossing gel, but also knowing that my glossing gel application is thin enough that the 30 seconds I put it under the lamp for at the end will cure those last few dots. They've had 10 seconds, so they just need that little bit longer. They're so small anyway. So yeah, that's what I would do, is just a flash cure and then top coat over the top. I think I had another tip in my head a second ago, but I've lost it. So if I remember it, I will pop it in the comments down below. But that is how you do a dotted design with a few tips and tricks for putting some extra boost, extra professionalism into the design. And so yeah, if you have a go, please do post on our Pro Only Facebook group or on our page and show us how you went. And otherwise, I will see you next week for another You Choose Tuesday. Bye guys.